energy market. What this bill says about your costs, and I'll say this lastly, is that it doesn't require a vote of the people. Most things don't. You elect your representatives to represent the people. It requires a vote of the Board of Supervisors, like most things in life. Number two, it says that you have to opt out. You have to tell the utility company, or in this state, the CHCCA, that you don't want green power. And if you don't opt out in time, they're going to charge you a little fee. The other way to do things, everything in life when you do legislation, is either letting people know that you opt in, you send something in. If you don't send it in, you're on. If you do send it in, you're off. You know how all dynamics work. It was a way to let the power company make a nickel as we began to move forward in the green power plan. So really, the arguments opposing it are specious. The exit fee doesn't mean much. It merely says, if you're a community and you have a certain value and you want to pursue a green portfolio, you have that option. And if a ratepayer doesn't want it, wants the PG&E standard plan, everyone has a right to continue on their plan. So there'll be both opportunities made available, conceivably. We always thought, and I'll say this lastly, and I know and I appreciate your indulgence for talking here, but we always envisioned startup costs on anything new cost more. But the idea was if you got enough to group together, you got enough like-minded constituencies that over time, those costs get realized or they're neutralized. Now the fight is what kind of green energy? Is solar too expensive? Is it biomass? Is it what I learned on the Waste Management Board, really burning garbage to make electricity through anaerobic digestion? Now we're on a stage here where there's so many compelling types of green energy that that's the next discussion we're in. What's the best way to do it? So I thank you for allowing it to be framed, and I think it's important to just always know that this was short-footed, went by the book, was duly considered over a series of years. There's no radical invention. It merely says if a community wants it, it can have it. And what's more right-minded than that? Thank you. Thank you.
And a very important question: will my PG&E bill go up?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And what is community choice aggregation? There was an excellent, incredible framing job, really, that Carol just gave. I want to define community choice in relation to the energy industry as it is today, at least as I see it, really worldwide, but in the U.S. particularly. So it's so easy to get, there's so much complexity in the subject of electricity that it's easy to get bored in a way. And yet, the impacts from electricity use in the United States are globally felt, are a major cause of greenhouse gas emissions, in fact, the United States electricity industry is the world's now second largest single cause of climate change. So the stakes of what we're talking about are extremely high, and it's so easy to get lost in the details because of the complexity, when the simple matter is that Copenhagen talks just failed. And this is since 1992, when the Kyoto talks failed. In both cases because of the United States Democratic administrations that somehow failed to bring anything to it and only brought disaster and diffusion. So first of all, that's the backdrop. We're in a free fall of policy collapse regarding energy worldwide. Whereas during the Clinton administration, you had leadership in Europe with significant actions by governments in Germany and all over Europe, and over the following 10 years, very significant expansion of solar power, wind power, etc. That all essentially got stifled by the Bush administration. And today in Europe, there is a similar free fall of public policy regarding energy. There is a new embrace of coal power worldwide and a new embrace of nuclear power worldwide. Arguably the most important leader of nuclear industry revival is PG&E. I'll repeat that. PG&E is probably the world's most important nuclear revivalist. What they're doing in California is an effort to redefine nuclear power and to redefine gas-fired power as clean energy and to project this vision of the future into the national debate. They have succeeded in doing so to the extent that in the recent Copenhagen debates, it was the Democrats pushing for cap and trade, which was formerly a Republican policy. Republicans who are fighting against that. The entire slide rule has been pushed to the side to the extent that there is no critical voice in the debate. It is a disaster. So first of all, that's an important part of the background for energy. What is CCA inside of that? CCA is the opportunity of the local level to act according to its global thought. Right? This recognition of the importance of the issue leads us in the city through the leadership of Carol, Tom Amiano isn't here, and now Ross Marimi, who's holding the torch, and the Board of Supervisors, to profoundly change energy use in this city. Marin County is walking in parallel, as you've heard, and there's similar mail coming out from PG&E in Marin County, very similar tenor, a little bit more suburban looking. Risk, politicians are playing a game of risk. Very aggressive tactics. The stakes for PG&E are enormous. Why? Because San Francisco is its hometown. The CCA would essentially break away from PG&E's power plant system and from its fuel procurement system. The PG&E's fleet is 50% gas-fired. They are a gas importation company, and they burn enormous volumes of gas in their power plants. Otherwise, it's nuclear power. It's a bunch of old dams from World War II. They are now remarketing their old dams and their nuclear power plants as carbon-free green power. That's the Orwellian aspect of this campaign, and our, the pgeprop16 campaign, which you could look up at powerground.info, is very focused on the Orwellian quality of how PG&E is trying to basically redefine the landscape of energy policy in order to counter CCS. And so, as Carol said, back in 1998, because of AB 1890 and the 2 years prior, PG&E was bailed out for the privilege of choice. They received over $10 billion in that initial bailout. In their bankruptcy in 2003, they received another $11 billion bailout. Now, at the time, their book value was $23 billion. Today, they come back and say that San Francisco is trying to take its property and that they have a right to defend it. It's not their property. They sold it. They're trying to, in this revisionist manner, to reclaim a monopoly which they sold.